Wait, so the murder at Greystone was related to the black bag of cash?
Yep.
This sounds familiar to me. Did this actually happen?
I know, it's crazy. It actually did happen in history, though.
So I've been learning this whole time.
Have you ever considered adding real life history to your role playing games? It's something I've kind of started to get into, and it's quite a lot of fun. If you're looking to add some history to your games, stick around as I talk through some tips to do so and talk about a really cool Call of Cthulhu supplement. So first, I want to provide a review of a Call of Cthulhu supplement that really started getting me into this whole adding history into my games. So on the surface, this is called 4-bit characters, and it is 10 pre-generated characters for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. But what's unique about this is that these characters are based on actual historical figures. And in full disclosure, I was offered a free copy of the supplement in exchange for a fair and honest review. So all characters are provided with stats for Call of Cthulhu, a background of the character, and some important bits of history, the things that they were most well known for, and some interesting facts as well. They have a description, and a really cool part is that they have investigative hooks. So these are hooks that you can read through as a GM or a player and see how this character could fit into an existing campaign or spur something completely new that you might create. So first, I love that these character sheets are so beautiful. I mean, look at the different styles here. It's really cool to see a different style for the Call of Cthulhu character sheets, and something that I found really interesting. Each character is also provided with 2 different character sheets, one for online play and one that's printable. The online play leaves a little bit more room for style because you don't have to tick off things like sanity or luck. And then the printable style is already formatted for you to be able to send it to the printer and save on some ink. Now for character background, not only do you get the important parts of the history, but you also get some fun little facts. There was some cool description with a character that basically said she bought a 1922 Model T for $74.66. Something really cool and interesting to kind of get a feel for the era. What I found most interesting about this supplement is that it was like a little seed that really got me interested in a character and led me down a rabbit hole to really explore more about their history and learn about them. So this was basically a starting point that got me excited about how this could play in a game and to learn about history. It was a really cool combination of the two things. So I gave this a go a few different ways. First, I had my players select a couple characters that they would play as their main player character. This was a pretty cool experience for them because, again, it kind of got them interested in the character and had them do some research, and they had a basis for the personality and motivations behind this character. The second way as a GM is I used them as a fleshed out NPC. So there was one character that was super interesting. He's a book dealer, and I thought that it would be cool to have him as a main part of one of the areas that my characters were going to. So by having this really fleshed out character with stats, I could easily pull him in and create something fun for my players to do in a specific town that they were in. The third way is to use them as throwaway NPCs. So something that's not really a main part of the story, but is something that can help flesh out the setting and make the players feel like they are in the specific era that you're playing. So for example, there is a character in the supplement, William Johnson, who is a great supporter of Prohibition. He was very well known for shutting down many saloons in his time because he did various raids and was very much on top of making sure that Prohibition was followed. Now, this character is someone that was really cool to bring into my story just quickly as my players were in a bar that was serving alcohol. So as a kind of homage to the era, I was able to bring in this character and have a raid happen and make it feel like they were really in the 1920s. And the last way I was able to use this is to create a scenario surrounding one specific historical figure. So one of the figures in here was Mildred Mathias, and I found her really fascinating. She went into botany after she was not allowed to have a degree in mathematics because she was a woman in the 1920s. And so this really was interesting for me to research, but also led to me creating a whole scenario around different plants and creatures that would be taking over the town and was a Call of Cthulhu-esque investigation. And so having her as the focal point was a really cool inspiration, and I had a ton of fun with it. The other cool thing about the supplement is that there is a bonus material, like a write-up on the Spanish flu included, but also some bonus materials related to each individual character. Now, these bonus materials were really cool, but honestly, it left me feeling like I wanted more. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to be able to flesh out some scenarios related to these investigators and be able to provide a little bit more information about them. So having some additional resources that players can reference or fleshing out more different handouts for each specific character would be really cool. The other thing that I think would be awesome would be some potential scenarios pre-generated using these characters so that GMs know how to use them in their games. Overall, I had a ton of fun with the supplement, and I think it's a great starting point if you're looking to add history to your games, specifically for Call of Cthulhu. What I really appreciated about 4-bit characters is it really opened my whole world to a new way to play role-playing games. History is something that naturally kind of came up with Call of Cthulhu because of the setting, but it was never something that was the focal point for me. I found that using this was kind of a cool way to get to learn different things that I didn't know about and a different way to approach role-playing. So next I'm going to head into my specific tips of how to add history to your games. So to frame this up, I think that there are 2 specific categories related to adding history to your games. The first is just a sprinkling. This is a way to explore history a little bit, but not to make it a focal point. It's merely there to add some depth and have a little bit of fun. The other way is using RPGs as a tool to teach history. This means it's your sole focus and something that you're going to frame the whole game around. Now, let's start with the sprinkling. I think that there are some specific strategies that will help you to think about different ways you can add. The first being setting. So setting is really easy to do a little bit of research on what the general environment was like, what kind of jobs did people have, what kind of things were in people's homes, and kind of using that to describe the different areas that players are in and get a feel for the time. The second way is to play a historical figure or add something from history that you kind of centralize your player around. So, for example, I had a player who decided to be a lobotomist in the 1920s. And through this, he was a very a high proponent of this surgery and wanted to help everyone with it because this was a scientific innovation of that time. Through this roleplay, I learned that lobotomy actually got a Nobel Prize, which is crazy, but it actually happened. So something that was fun to learn and add to the general feel of the game. The next way is to add historical NPCs. So as a GM, what ways can you add people who actually existed to your game and make it a little bit fun for your players to stumble upon a famous actress or somebody that they might already know from the time period? And the last way is to role play a specific historical event that happened. So let's say you have an overall campaign that you have in mind, but there's a specific location that might work well with an event that actually happened. This is something that you can do some research on and add to your game just for a little bit of fun. And the second category is more structured and is a way to actually teach history through the use of role-playing games. Now, this is best served if you focus your role-playing game on a specific historical event. Let's say the Constitutional Convention in America. That was something that you can centralize your game around with the goal of teaching that specific thing. So make sure that you have a specific goal in mind when you go out to play this role-playing game. Some of the important tips is to make sure that the setup is as close to accurate as you can get. So the players and characters involved and the setting. Make sure that it is described as close as you can get and to make sure that the beginning of the scenario is a setup that is very similar to how it happened in history. Now, we all know that role-playing leads to a lot of different crazy things that can happen, and it's not going to be 100% historically accurate. So, making sure that you stick to player and character motivations. Making sure that your players know that's the most important thing when role-playing a historical event. is you know your character, you know what their goal was, and you know what their motivation is. Being able to rely on that and really focus your energy into that motivation is going to steer the role-playing events in a particular way, hopefully somewhat close to history. But if not, that's okay too, because the most important thing is the wrap-up. You have to make sure that there is a deep dive after your role-playing session that says, these are the things that happened in our game, and here's how it happened differently. Making sure that they understand what actually happened in history, but hopefully through the role-playing game, they've become more engaged to learn it, and they've learned about the specific people that influenced the things that happened. So they know their character deeply, and they know why they did the things that they did. For me, I think this is a super cool concept. There's a specific resource called Reacting to the Past, where they have scenarios already made for you, and I'm going to link that in the description below. They have some resources to rely on as well. So looking into all of this history and games was really fun and cool. To be honest, when I was in school, I wish that I had the opportunity to role play some of these historical events. I feel like maybe I would have been a little bit more engaged. So hopefully these tips helped you, and it helped you think about different ways you can be creative and learn about our past. If you like content like this and like role-playing games, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.